What's up, guys? Mighty Mammal Swine here, and today I am with Batty Brawlick for the GBA Season 6 Week 4 Pick'em Crew video.
What's going on, everybody? Glad to be back once again, and these weeks just continue to get more and more exciting with really awesome plays, crazy upsets, and just really wacky games all around. So hope you guys are enjoying it as much as we are.
Yeah, Week 3 was all over the place. Some coaches or some pickers did really well, like Maddie, and others not so hot. Like the Confusion did not do very well, going 3 and 5. That's what you get. Like if you be bold, like you gotta make sure your picks are gonna win.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, making bold picks is one thing that can make this type of thing fun, but you don't want to make bold picks that really don't have a lot of logic behind them. You know, you want to make sure that there's a couple of certain key ideas or facts that may make your pick end up being correct. You don't want to just kind of pick something just for the heck of not everyone else is picking it, so I'm just going to be a hipster and pick it, you know?
Exactly. You don't want to just make the contrarian pick just to be outside the box a little bit. Like you want to make sure those guys are going to win. And it looks like I've done that so far. I'm actually leading everyone 16 and 8 so far.
Yep, that's a pretty impressive record. I came back a little bit last week with a 7 and 1 pick or picks, but you know, hopefully we can continue that after a really rough start at 3 and 5.
And yeah, the fans really picked it back up too. Like they're kind of back in the hunt now.
Yeah, that is true. Actually, the fans are doing quite well. They're ahead of Spastic and Dallas Star U and the Confusion, so they're looking pretty solid. Good job, guys.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, you guys have picked pretty well. Let's see you guys pick this week. Moving on into Week 4. This week, I think it's a little bit easier to call than the last 2 weeks, but still some really tough matches. The first one we have is the New York Metapods versus the San Jose Sharpedos. Now, Tom got a lot better from the last game. Like, Tom really improved the way he played, the way he planned. He was in the match against George, who was thought to be one of the better coaches in the league. Dan won last week, correct?
Yes.
Kind of drawn blank. Yeah, Dan definitely like played a lot better, planned better. I think we said that if he planned better, like that match was going to come down to whoever planned better, and I definitely think he did that last week. I think he's going to do that again, and so does everybody else.
Yeah, I'm not too surprised why. I was actually looking through the team matchups, and when it comes to just, you know, which Pokemon each team has, Dan has Mega Altaria, which is, you know, known to be one of the biggest threats in this format, and Tom's only Fairy Resist is actually Arcanine, which is an okay check to Mega Altaria normally, but Altaria obviously can carry Earthquake, and then also Arcanine is easily worn down by Stealth Rocks, as well as it could be lured by some other Pokemon. It can be statused and so on and so forth. So if that does happen and the Arcanine gets weakened, then Mega Altaria could really just run train right through the Sharpedo's team, as well as some other Pokemon like Victini could really take advantage of a weakened Arcanine. And what else looks really good for Dan's team? He actually has a pretty solid check to Mamoswine, so that's one thing a lot of teams do not have. So that's why I'm going to go with Dan, because Tom is getting better every single week, but also Dan stepped up last week as well, and I'm sure he's going to want to keep his winning streak going. So with a pretty good looking team matchup and just, you know, all around more success than Tom, I think Dan's probably going to pull this one.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think if Dan could get up 1 or maybe 2 Dragon Dances, like, he pretty much wins. If rocks are up and his opponent's Pokemon are a little bit weakened, maybe a Toxic on a wall or 2. I definitely think that Dan is going to win this match because of that.
Yeah, I agree. I think that Dan's plan should be to weaken the Arcanine, because Arcanine really isn't, you know, the sturdiest of walls. It does have nice access to Intimidate and just a fire typing, mono fire typing, which isn't as bad defensively as it used to be, but the fact that he is weak to Stealth Rocks just should allow Dan to capitalize on that with either Victini or Mega Altaria, especially Mega Altaria. But we'll see what happens. Like we both mentioned, Tom has been stepping it up, so you never know. And with that being said, we'll move on to the next game, which is a really hype match. We have two 3-0 teams going head-to-head, which is really exciting because when you have two undefeated teams, unfortunately, one has to take its first loss. But even though that is unfortunate, sometimes it is fun to watch teams go a little longer in the season undefeated. It is exciting to see which one will come out on top and really establish themselves as, the top threat or one of the top threats. And we have the San Diego Chimp Chargers, coached by Envy, and the San Francisco Arcaniners, coached by George. Now, a lot of people constantly regard George to be one of the best players in the format, and deservingly so, because he is. He really just gets the format. He just, it consistently puts up great numbers, always plays well. There are very few games where even if he loses, he really plays poorly. He just always comes out and plays well, preps well, and has a pretty solid team to back him up. But Envy's been taking the league by storm in the past few weeks, and wouldn't be surprised to see him do it again. Obviously, it's my bold prediction to see Envy go undefeated in the regular season. So even though I think George has a pretty good shot to win this, since both of the teams are very offensive, it can really go either way, I have to go with Envy.
Yeah, I don't blame you on this one. Mega Ampharos does not have a lot of switch-ins from George. Maybe a Snorlax. With the right investment, it could probably live 2 Focus Blasts, assuming that he hits them. But I could definitely see Mega Ampharos putting some work in for Envy this week. But the Mega Ampharos gets revenge killed fairly easy by the Lottie, and I think there was another Pokemon. Let me just take a look real quick. By the Lottie and the Nidoqueen. So if the Mega Ampharos gets set up in Agility or 2, this could be a game that's over very quickly.
Yeah, I agree with that. It looks like if Envy plays his cards right and brings some sets that could kind of surprise George the way he's been bringing some sets in these past few weeks that have been able to set up and catch his opponents off guard, then he may be able to just kind of sweep George's very frail and, well, not very, but fairly frail and offensive team. But the same goes for Envy with George, because George just has so much power and ability to pressure Envy's relatively offensive squad as well. So if George could do that to Envy, then it could end pretty quickly on the other side too. So this should be a really interesting game. I'm definitely looking forward to watching it because I love offense, and to see a fast-paced game is definitely preferable to me over a long defensive battle. So yeah, should definitely be an interesting one.
Yeah, this game is probably going to have the top play of the week. Both are really, really skilled players and skilled battlers. And this match is really going to come down to who plays better. Prep is going to be important, obviously. But I think these guys are pretty well matched in prep overall as players. But I think that George has more experience in the format, so I pick him. Obviously, Envy's been showing that experience does not matter as much. But George just has this track record of winning that it's hard to ignore.
Yeah, I agree.
Moving on to the next match, we have the Borussia Donphan versus the Tampa Bay Lux Rays. Monatui has been killing it the last 2 weeks. 2-0. He's really showing why he deserves to be in this league, and I agree. However, Lars has not been playing well. This is not like Lars. This is not the Lars we know. This is not the Lars we know from last season. Lars is usually the player that after a loss would go back and get another win. He hasn't done that yet. He's not playing very well, but I think this is the week he's going to turn around. I believe him and Monatui are relatively familiar in terms of leagues they've played in, and they definitely hang out with the same sort of people. So I think they know each other and they're more experienced versus each other than Monatui would be against someone else. But I think Lars has a fairly decent team matchup with the light lander spread. I definitely think he could sweep Monatui's team this week. Yeah,
no, that's a very good analysis. From watching Monatui's games, it's almost hard to go against him because, like I said last week, it seems like he's just got his finger on the pulse. He really excels at competitive battling in general, but particularly this league format, he really seems like he's going over and above to really prepare as much as he possibly can and as efficiently as possible for his opponents, because he's new to the league. I'm sure he, aspired to be in the league on his own. So now the fact that he's gotten this opportunity, he really wants to do well and hold on to it. So that's what he's been doing so far. And with someone else's team that he didn't even draft, I've been very impressed. So I think that with Lars not playing as well as he has been, Monatui will probably win this one. But like you said, Lars really is a big threat. He's got a scary team, and he could easily come back and win it. I mean, I know that's what he's going to really want to do. He wants to establish himself as one of the bigger threats in the league, like he usually is. But, I don't know. Monatui's just got a really solid team with so many threats that could possibly be win cons against the Donphan. I mean, Mega Manectric is really, really scary. Porygon Z is very scary as well because it can sweep by both the means of power with things like Nasty Plot and speed with agility. And even Garchomp looks like a pretty massive threat to the Donphan because Lars' only resist or Dragon Immunity is Aromatisse, which gets hit very hard by Earthquake and Poison Jab and stuff. And then I wouldn't really consider Scizor to be a great Garchomp check. So I think that Monatui may be able to pressure the Donphan enough to be able to pull it, but the Donphan, like you said, has Landorus Eye, has Crawdaunt, which Monatui, the only way to really counter that thing would be to run some type of physically defensive Azumarill with Rest or something. So that all these things could really pressure the Lux Rays as well. So I think this could be an interesting game that really goes either way. I'm just going with the guy who has really proven himself to me. I know it's only been a short amount of time where he's been playing, but he's just been so solid. He's been thinking so many turns ahead and just doesn't make mistakes. So if he can continue playing like that, I think that he would win this game and continue to win and have a pretty solid record in the future.
And despite all of those kind words for Monatui, Mr. 0-3 Lock of the Week is deciding to make his Lock of the Week on Lars. He believes that after losing last week, he thinks Lars has never won or never lost back-to-back matches, so he thinks Lars is going to be able to go out there and get a win. Definitely a reason why I think he's going to get a win, but I'm not as confident in him to go ahead and give him the lock. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I agree, because when it comes to locking a pick for the Lock of the Week, you don't really base it off of what a coach has done in the past and how badly a coach wants to win. I mean, yes, I'm sure a lot of these coaches really want to win, but if they are in a little bit of a slump or they just don't feel comfortable with their team or generally maybe outskilled by their opponent, you can't just pick them because you think they really want to win and not lose 2 games in a row. So that's kind of my take on that one. But with that being said, I'll move on to the 4th game of this upcoming week. We have the Boston Red Sox coached by Nick and the New Orleans Pelipers coached by John, aka Pokemon. And this one is extremely hard to call in my opinion because both coaches are very, very good and have really solid teams to back themselves up. But the reason I went with the Pelipers is because they're both on a 2-game slide, and they're both really good coaches to be on a 2-game slide. But something just tells me from watching John for a long time that he is not the type of coach, or he's the type of coach to just take the GBA very, very seriously. And if he's on a 2-game slide, he is going to do anything he can to win this next game. And this one may come down to who wants it more, because I know I just said that that's not the best reason to pick a certain coach to win over the other, but both of these guys are very formidable coaches who have solid teams to back them up. And looking at the matchups, I just think that John's offensive pressure may be a little bit too much for the Red Sox to handle if they don't prepare correctly. I mean, like Mega Lopunny is just an absolute menace to Nick's team. So if John could continue that type of offensive pressure, then I think he could pull it, and I think he would be the type of guy who would want it more than Nick. That's just the feeling that I get.
Yeah, so after the last week's match, I texted John, and I was trying to figure out what was up, what happened in the match. And he told me that after he lost this match, any match after this must win. That's what he told me. And if John goes into all of his matches thinking it's a must-win game, he's going to have a hard time losing. Especially with his matchup this week, the combo of Mega Lopunny and Reuniclus really just decimate Nick's team.
Yeah, I agree with that. Reuniclus is also a massive threat. And now that I'm looking at it, again, it also looks like Bisharp is just an absolute menace to the Red Sox team, because the only decent switch-in is Mega Venusaur, which does take a lot from Steel Stab. Bisharp could also run things like Zen Headbutt. And yeah, he just has a pretty solid... It looks like he just put so much pressure on Nick that if he can get himself into some winning scenarios where he could possibly set up something like Reuniclus or a different Pokemon to be able to clean up the game, then I think he should be able to pull the win. But obviously, things like Kyurem Black, and do the Red Sox have Manaphy? No, they don't have Manaphy.
They do not.
No, Geo has Manaphy. Things like Kyurem Black and even Alakazam are just really, really threatening to any team because they just have the power and coverage to blow through a lot of different teams. So I wouldn't just say this is definitely John's game, but I think that with the matchup and the fact that, you know, he considers this game to be a must-win, I don't know if I see Nick having the same type of passion and vigor towards this game, but I really don't know.
Yeah, but you definitely can't count out Nick, because Nick is one of the better coaches, and although he doesn't have the matchup in his favor, the good coaches and the better coaches in this league, the ones that win the league completely, are the ones that could turn a bad matchup and make it a good matchup for them. A lot of this league is not just battling skill. There's players in other leagues who really aren't that skilled, but they could go out and get wins. Like me, I'm not very skilled at battling, but I could still go out there and get a lot of wins just through team prep. That's the main way to win in this league. And Nick has planned very well, like the last couple of matches. Arguable finish for Nick's last game, where he was really in it for most of it, but he ended up losing. This is going to be a close game. Burke, this is what Burke says. Burke says, there are no battles I felt confident in to lock, but Nick is a scrub. So, a little bit of a personal vendetta on that one, but we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, maybe that will actually motivate Nick enough to come out and win this game.
Yep, moving on to the next match, we have the Philadelphia Scizors versus the Milwaukee Bucks, and Believe in Battler X is not going so well so far.
Yeah, it really hasn't. I mean, you know, like I said, I always see potential in some of his plays. I feel like, oh, he's getting it, and then he'll just do something that just, you know, makes me kind of shake my head. So the fact that he's new to the league and the fact that he just can't seem to completely rid himself of some silly mistakes just make me want to lock one of the coaches that I know is one of the best players in the GBA. So I'm going to have to go with Chimpact and the Philadelphia Scizors, even though they came off a pretty rough loss to Yo Fizz last week. So that was going to be my lock because, like I said, there's just really not much of a reason to pick Battler X at this point when he is, you know, making some mistakes and still hasn't really established himself to the league yet or established himself as a reliable pick.
I mean, if this was an alternate universe and Steve could maybe pull some trap cards out of his bag, maybe he could get a win, but I definitely don't see it this week.
Yeah, I agree.
Chimpact's just been playing so well. Obviously, his team matchup wasn't really good against Fizz last week. I think he'll be able to right the wrongs from last week and definitely be able to overcome anything Steve could really throw at him. Because Sazbuk just got 2 kills in the last match, or 2 kills this season, and if Sazbuk is one of your big offensive threats, then you might be in some trouble.
That is true as well. And Chimpact is a competitor. He, you know, arguably should have won his second game against the Real Maril, and now he came off actually pretty rough loss from, you know, against Fizz. So he really needs to get on track, and I don't think he wants to, you know, let a team that is winless right now just come and knock him off even further. You know, I think he really needs to get on track right now, and with his just great playing and good foresight and good preparation, I think that he will pull this one out. I'm pretty confident in that.
Yeah, definitely agree with that.
So then, moving on to the 6th game, we have the Real Maril versus the Utah Jasmine. Now, Mogwai against Cooper is such an interesting matchup, in my opinion, because right now Mogwai is playing very well. He, you know, got a big win over Chimpact. He got another big win over Sam in an amazing match. That was a really close match that could have kind of gone either way, but I definitely think Miguel deserved it. And Yeah, Miguel, one thing about him, his preparation makes so much sense. You'll watch his preparation and just be like, wow, like he really understands what he's doing. His reasoning behind why he prepped for certain things and how he did just makes so much sense. And if I were in that same situation, I'd probably do the same things. Or if someone suggested those ideas to me, I'd probably want to listen to them because they make so much sense and they seem like they're definitely going to work. But Cooper is the type of coach to plan and make absolutely zero sense, to completely catch his opponents off guard and then pull out a win somehow just because he has a good team, he is a good player, and if he can really catch his opponents off guard, then he can kind of just capitalize with the rest of his team and win a game. So I could see that happening this week because, like I said, I think Mogwai is going to make a lot of sense, have a lot of logical preparation. He may say, there's no way that Cooper's going to bring this because X and X reasons, and then all of a sudden Cooper brings that and everything Miguel said he definitely wasn't going to bring, which could throw him off guard because he may not prepare for it very much. So I think it could definitely go either way, but right now, like I said, Miguel has been playing well. When Miguel is confident, when Miguel is passionate, then he is a force to be reckoned with, and that is why I am choosing him for this week.
Yeah, Miguel's definitely been getting his passion back over the last couple of weeks. Really been showing the league why he is one of the best team builders in the entire community. When Miguel is planning 100% like he did last week, he's really, really tough to beat. But if there is someone that could beat someone who is extremely tough to beat, it's Cooper. Cooper shows up in big matches. Cooper is like playing against low ladder opponents, but Cooper's really good. So it's tough. It's really tough to decide like what moves to pick, because when you're on low ladder, you have to try and read your opponent, and when you try and read your low ladder opponent, it does not always work out very well.
Yeah,
Cooper, on the other hand, is very good, and he's also very difficult to read.
Yeah, that's actually a fantastic analysis, because when you're on the low ladder and you face a team that you just have nothing for, then that person actually uses his team pretty well, you could be in for a lot of trouble. And that is exactly how I could see this game panning out, because that is the type of player Cooper is. So I like Miguel's matchup a little bit because Weavile is just an absolutely massive threat to Cooper's team, and I think that Miguel could put the pressure on Cooper. But in terms of the team matchup, I definitely think it could be pretty even, especially with Cooper's ways of thinking outside the box. I wouldn't just say that Miguel has the huge team matchup. I just really like both Talonflame and Weavile against Cooper's team.
Yeah, I definitely really like the team matchup Miguel has this week as well. Moving on to the next match. This is definitely a very, very big match. We have the Atlanta Huluchas, coached by Fizz, versus the San Francisco Giants, coached by Gio. And oh my, has Gio done it again with another big win last week over an undefeated divisional opponent, Tup, and he 5-0'd him very handedly. He's not going to be able to do that again. While I picked Gio to win, he does not have the best team matchup in the world, but a lot of people don't have the best team matchup in the world against Fizz. Volcanion is so difficult to switch into. Maddie and I were talking before we recorded this, and we were trying to think about ways that you could switch into Volcanion, and it's tough because you can't it's hard to not get 2-hit KO'd by this machine. Steam Eruption burns 30% of the time, so it basically burns 100% of the time. And even then, Volcanion can switch in on hits and then fire back. So you definitely have to watch how you play around Volcanion. It's a big threat in this league.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I definitely wanted to pick Gio this week just because there's such little reason not to pick Gio. He is on fire. He, like I said, he keeps getting better and better every week, and he just has an amazing team. It seems like he's pretty comfortable using it, which is just so important for a coach who is consistently getting better and has statistically great Pokemon. But Fizz's Volcanion is just an absolute menace to Gio's team. I mean, what switch-ins does he have? Manaphy? I mean, you don't really switch in Manaphy to Volcanion that easily, considering that Manaphy doesn't have reliable recovery outside of like Rain Dance plus Rest, which means 2 turns, and then HP Grass or HP Electric could just decimate Manaphy unless it's specially defensive. So also Gengar is another massive threat to Geo's team. So I think that if Geo doesn't play this one really, really well and prep really, really well, then Fizz can win this game just by having a really good matchup. But like I said, I wanted to go with the coach that I feel has been just kicking butt and really proving to everybody that he is a really solid choice to pick every single week because he understands his team, he is improving his play, and is just going to come out and bring the fight no matter what. So like Baby Nick was mentioning before, the really good coaches will be the ones that can turn a rough matchup into a winnable one, because this type of format allows you to do things like that with the whole counter team style. So that's why I went with Geo. But Fizz, I got my picks wrong with Fizz, I think, the last 2 weeks. So maybe last 3 weeks. I can't remember. I think all my picks in Fizz's games have been wrong. So wouldn't be surprised to get that one wrong once again.
Yeah, and looking at the team matchup a little bit more, even a Banded Rhyperior just destroys Geo's team. Rhyperior is one of those Pokemon that's really hard to switch into, especially with a band. I don't think anyone on Geo's team doesn't get 2 KO'd by a Banded Rhyperior.
Yeah, I didn't even notice that. That's true.
And then Salamence, late game, could definitely sweep his team too in the right scenarios. But you would have to be crazy to pick against Geo, in my opinion. Geo has put together one of the best performances over a span of a couple of weeks that the GBA has seen in a long time. Geo, 5-0'd Tup, 6-0'd Cooper, and then 4-0'd the defending champion? That's ridiculous. I give massive props to the ones that picked against Geo and think that Fizz is going to win because he does have the team matchup. But I just would not be able to do it. Just the way I feel that Geo's been playing, it's really hard to pick against him.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, because Geo really has been putting together such a huge string of wins that are just boosting his momentum and his confidence like crazy, and that's huge in a league like this. So let's hope that Geo can hang on to his undefeated record for pick's sake. And yeah, moving on to the final match of Week 4, we have the Newcastle United versus the Pittsburgh Patataz, and I'm going to have to go with Newcastle United this week because they have not really played a bad game. You know, they have come out and played well and prepped fairly well all 3 weeks, but had very tough opponents in John, Miguel, and Fizz. So, you know, being a newcomer to the GBA, it's understandable to lose to those people. Those are 3 of the best coaches in the league and in the history of the GBA. So it's not too surprising to see him lose to those players, although I did think he was going to win some of those games. But I digress. I do think that him being 0-3, he needs a win. Like, he really needs a win at some point, being that his team is really good and he is just really good. You know, Tup last week kind of went back, didn't really go back to the old Tup necessarily playing wise, but in terms of his loss, getting 5-0'd, that is a little bit reminiscent of the old Tup. And with that being said, I think that Newcastle can definitely pull this game just because, like I said, they have a great team. They need a win, and I think that Sam, you know, Tup is a little bit more of a reasonable opponent for Sam to get his first win over than the last 3, in my opinion.
Yeah, Tup, not necessarily returning to old Tup, but definitely made some questionable plays that he didn't really make his first 2 weeks in the league. Sam just has an incredible team matchup this week. Mew puts in so much work. Crobat puts in a lot of work. Virizion puts in a lot of work. Crocodile also does a lot to Tup's team. And then one of the bigger ones, I think, is Suicune, who has a good defensive matchup. The only Pokemon, there's 2 Pokemon that have super effective stabs against the Suicune. Tangrowth, and then Rotom Heat, who is weak to water moves and cannot switch into a Suicune. A Crocoon, going to be deadly in this matchup.
Yeah, that's absolutely the case. I literally just looked at the matchup now, and right away, first thing that just jumped out was that Suicune gets up a single Combine, like one. Literally just one, and the game is pretty much over. If he keeps that thing healthy and has it set up to the point where maybe some other things are weakened, or he just really doesn't need to worry about some shenanigans with maybe the move Trick, or I don't even know, maybe Leopard could play some type of I don't know. I don't even know what Leopard's move pool is too well to even know what it could really do to a +1 or +2 Suicune. So if Suicune gets
maybe
to
Encore. Encore's my only.
Yeah, Encore. That's
thing.
right. It does have Encore. So unless he falls into some shenanigans with Encore, Trick, etc., then I can't see how a +1 Suicune wouldn't just continue to set up and 6-0 whatever Tup and the Patataz want to throw at him. So if Sam does bring that, then good luck to Tup countering that.
And he's definitely going to lose some Pokemon in the process of doing that, and a Pokemon like Crocodile could just sweep his team.
That's true. That's a good point.
So yeah, with all that said, I think that's going to wrap up Pick'em Crew for Week 4 of the GBA. Hope you enjoyed the video. Leave a like if you did. And I'll pass it over to Matty Brollock. Anything else he has to say?
Yeah, definitely, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video, as always, because we enjoyed making it. And I hope you continue to pick in the Twitter polls because, like I said, you guys have been doing pretty well. If you think you should be doing better, then definitely get your butt to the Twitter polls to make sure you vote even more, because that is the only way for you guys to improve. The more votes, the higher chance you have to influence the decision. So, yeah, with that being said, it will wrap it up for this week's Pick'em Crew video, and hope you guys enjoyed as always, and are looking forward to seeing us next week because I know we are. And yeah, that's about it. Later, guys.
See ya.